can take your helmet off in space and live.
All I'm saying.
That wasn't even the problem I had with that part.
All I'm saying. As I speak into my mic, like this is a part
I
of
know, no, this is all on. This is part of the episode.
For the record, production, keep that in.
Yeah. Your production.
I know. It's just funny.
You haven't
It's just
sent it off
funny
to
when
me
I
yet?
throw it to like a
Hey,
random.
Guy Pearce, keep that in.
Yeah, it's funny when I throw it to a random. Anyways, we're
Sound
here.
guy, go ahead and mute his mic really quick.
We're the hit players. The hit players are back once again. It's been a while, gentlemen.
My apologies.
It's been like a month. James like died again.
Dude, he was sick for like 2 weeks, right? Something weird. You were out. You
And it's
poor
funny
soul.
because I felt like you got better halfway through your sickness, and
I
then
did?
I just immediately heard you get worse
Yeah.
through your bathroom,
That's
through
what
your
happens.
door.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, jeez.
Poor guy.
Anyways, James is alive and
He's
well
doing
once
better, yeah.
again. He's
Lots of
back.
pills. We're
Lots
good.
of pills, lots of water,
We
lots
love
of
it.
rest.
We love drugs.
We love amoxicillin.
We love Tylenol.
Tylenol helps for
If you,
sure.
any of you guys want to sponsor us, please do. I'm a whore. For just money.
This episode of Hit Play is brought to you by Tylenol. Get sick.
Imagine,
If you got heartburn, I tell you what.
imagine if we were sponsored by like Pepto-Bismol.
Just like the most random, unrelated thing ever.
That'd be great. Anyways, we're here to discuss video games, specifically their film adaptations, because Connor and I went to go watch Five Nights at Freddy's. We were there, boots on the ground, weekend one. I think it was weekend one. I think we were actually
No, because it was a Monday.
Yeah, we were actually a little late.
It couldn't be weekend one. Are you kidding me?
I think we were like a week
The
late.
theater had one other person in it.
Yeah, that's true.
We
Yeah,
were not
that's
weekend.
true. That's
Yeah, I
true.
know.
That is true. That's facts. Which prompted us to start doing this video game
Video game?
thing, because I feel like video games are having like a renaissance of sorts to a degree.
Video games themselves.
Video games themselves, and also movies.
Adaptations, yeah.
There's like a weird thing going on with them.
CGI has gotten better.
CGI has gotten better
And cheaper.
And yet they insist on doing live actions. Looking
Yes.
at you, Zelda.
For some reason, a movie that is, a video game that is heavily based off its art style, just eradicate. Let's just eradicate its art style.
We don't need it. We don't need it. It's irrelevant.
But Connor, just real quick, your quick words on Five Nights at Freddy's.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's a solid, like, I'd give it like a C plus or B minus tier of like just
I
kind
think
of
I would
a
too.
mid tier movie. But I mean, it was fun. It was a good use of $10.
Yeah.
You know, good
It's
stuff.
not. I was scared for it because I was at least reading like people were like, "This is the worst movie of all time," and like seeing TikToks of people leaving the theaters, and Blumhouse Productions. I don't know what people expected. It's Blumhouse. They make either the greatest horror movie of all time or they make the worst horror movie of all time. There's literally no like anybody who's just the thought that Five Nights at Freddy's is gonna be like the Exorcist of our generation.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
The Exorcist.
I don't know what you were.
It was about as
expecting.
scary as The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I'd also give it credit for the fact that I think it was like what PG-13 or something, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't an R movie. It was
Yeah.
pretty graphic.
It was a kids movie.
They managed to make people die in really fun ways without having to show them.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. But yeah, it was a good film. If you like Five Nights at Freddy's, you'll maybe like it. I think the people who were bitching the most were people who like the games.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you would like this.
But,
if you're into the games.
If you're not into them, because I mean we're not, it was great. It was a good
Yeah,
time.
it was a good time.
Yeah.
I had fun.
I'd watch it again
A
if
lot
I
of
was
funny moments.
drunk and at home.
It is an indictment on the movie though when Matt Pat is your best actor.
And they wasted him on a lunch joke. I'm so mad.
It's yeah. I won't go too into depth in terms of like technicality, but that just I had to say that part.
Apparently, the taxi driver was also a big YouTuber who does stuff.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't
know. I
reckon-
got told
I don't
later
know.
on.
I'm not
Yeah.
into Five now.
Jake Paul.
I'm not into FNAF.
No, Jake Paul is into snuff films, not games that
That's
are like snuff
Logan
films.
That's Logan Paul. you
Oh, I whatever.
uncultured.
They're the same person.
All right, so on that note,
I would recommend Five Nights at Freddy's too.
Yeah, James watched it through us.
Yeah.
I came back and we
They
just
live
mind
streamed
melded a
it.
little bit. Yeah,
FaceTime.
we could have live streamed it. Who's there to stop us?
yeah, really.
Well, my phone half the film.
James, we made you watch some video game movies.
Yeah.
watched, for the record, you watched.
For this conversation, I went back in time and watched some of the greats. Mortal Kombat, 1995.
The GOAT.
The GOAT.
Tomb Raider, 2001.
Also the GOAT.
So I've been told.
It's not a good
The
start.
reason I recommend
Not a good
those
start,
movies,
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, the reason I recommend those movies is because it is like the snapshot of the genre where,
Yeah.
depending on how you feel, like if you love those movies or hate those movies, those are the best.
Yeah,
Got
seriously.
got the Resident Evil movies in there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
the
are
Resident Evil
interesting.
movies are just god awful.
Yeah.
And it's weird because for, I would say, up until The Last of Us came out, that was like the gold standard for video game adaptations, which is
Yep. It's sad.
so bad.
Yeah. Especially because there was better things out there that
Yeah.
people just didn't care about.
Also, especially because there's just games in general that are actually
Right?
like
Movies in
Cinematic.
themselves.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Metal Gear Solids. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Might as well just be a movie.
So, for the record, James does not play video games as much as we do.
No, not at all.
No, he's a
so
League
that
player.
you are extremely out of left field on this one.
Yeah. Very limited knowledge on video games. There's no Call of Duty film adaptation
Yeah,
as far
there's-
as I'm aware.
There's a ton of war movies.
Well, yeah, there's tons of war movies, but, you know, I was
It's all
going to
the
make
same.
that joke. You took it out from under me.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Nevertheless,
Just Carlo Mencia.
yeah,
Carlos
come on.
Mencia.
Speak faster.
My apologies. So I'll start in chronological order with the 1995 Mortal Kombat, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, not Paul Thomas Anderson.
We were so close.
We were so close. We were almost there.
Just one initial off.
So close to greatness.
This movie is pure 90s camp.
Yes.
From terrible CGI
So fucking bad.
to incredibly cardboard stiff acting from everyone across the board. Terrible, humorless dialogue, even when it's trying to be funny. And music that was just pulled from the charts, wasn't even written for the movie, and just feels completely out of place because I recognize every single song. And I know that it shouldn't be in the Mortal Kombat movie anyway, except for when they use the actual Mortal Kombat theme.
Oh, that hits so
which
hard
slaps every time. Every time.
Every time.
Dude, I booted it up today to watch it, and then, it starts with just a bam, 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 and I was like,
This movie starts like you're getting punched in the face, like an actual character. And then it just immediately just happens.
yeah.
But it was not a bad film. Like, it was enjoyable. It was actually fun to watch.
Yeah.
In no small part because it is extremely dated. Even for the 90s, it was dated by the time it came out. It was cheesy, bad B-movie level, everything. But it's still fun because it just doesn't take itself seriously enough
No.
that you don't feel any, like, ironic detachment from it.
Yeah.
You can still say it's still fun when they play the Mortal Kombat theme. You get hyped.
Yeah.
Even though they play it for boss fights that are just like against nameless people. And I'm like,
Yeah, but it was still cool.
it's still cool that they play the song, but this fight doesn't mean anything.
So S tier, right?
So S tier.
Yeah, it's S tier.
S tier.
No, I think what helps it too is,
You're on
is
activation.
unfortunately, right? Video games for the longest time were like nerdy.
Yeah.
Up until probably
Longest time.
I feel like
Still kind of is.
I feel like at least I think now this decade it's starting to like flip, especially because so much money's made off of like Twitch streamers and
Yeah,
stuff like
absolutely.
that.
It's becoming more acceptable when,
Yeah.
1990s, you were beaten in the.
It's like, oh, you play video games for a living? Well, it's like, Grandpa, he just made $1.6 million
right? Yeah.
last year. Like, I don't know. Can we really keep making fun of these kids? Yeah, I had a teacher
Yes.
one time. I had a professor one time who was like, man, if Twitch was out when I was a kid, I was like, it's not really how that works, but okay. It's like, I don't know if you would still be making money because
Yeah.
you kind of still have to have a personality.
Yeah, you just have to be funny.
And also, what games are out when you were a kid, by
Yeah.
the way?
I feel like somebody
Pong.
doing a Twitch stream on the original Super Mario Brothers would have been pretty good.
I've seen plenty of speedruns for it.
Yeah, but it's different. I'm talking like a first blind playthrough when it came out, and you
Yeah,
got the
that'd be kinda
old
cool.
controllers and everything.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sick.
Trying to figure out how to jump and stuff.
Like, imagine being the guy who's watching the Twitch streamer who like realizes that there's like the warp zones behind the castle.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there. I will also say this: Mortal Kombat, which was specifically controversial from its release,
Yeah.
from its inception.
Well, that's how they made it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of fighting games at the times were like Ninja Turtles and Battletoads and Rampage.
Yeah.
And Mortal Kombat was like, get the fuck out of here. We're going to be edgy, bro. We're going
Yeah.
to like chop people's heads off in the game.
They're gonna explode into really bad pixelated gore.
Yeah.
And then the movie adaptation is nothing like that.
Good old PG-13.
That kind of
Got to sell out for the money.
adaptational dissonance from the start really sets up the rest of video game adaptation history, I think, pretty much. Now, I don't know too much about the actual making of this film itself. I do know that this Mortal Kombat movie specifically went through a lot of pre-production shuffling in directors and
Imagine it
actors
would.
and
No, makes sense.
writers. It's understandable why, to a certain extent, you would think, hey, this violent video game is popular for kids and played mostly by teens and young people, so let's make a movie for kids with no violence in it. It's like somewhere along the transition between let's adapt this material and let's make the adaptation, everything that made the video game good was lost.
Yep.
Which is the trend.
Which is kind of what.
Every other movie we talk about.
Yeah, that statement right there is actually just like the operating thesis of
Yeah.
this entire conversation.
It's so weird because, I mean, there's so many adaptations where it's like, I feel like you guys didn't make a movie. I don't know if I want to go for the golden goose right now, but there's a certain adaptation where it's like you didn't have no idea anything about the universe. You just were simply like, I have a story to tell, and the characters I'm using are already. I'm taking these from this universe because it just I can, and it's marketing, and it's like unfortunately that's how it was treated.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just gonna foreshadow.
I'm glad you picked up on it. We'll get to it.
We'll come back to it.
We'll go on a rant. But yeah.
I feel like the next movie I watched, which was the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
I had the same thought about where I was like, you just took the character and said this is just kind of in that universe, not necessarily directly adapting from the game itself, but just kind of taking that character and still telling another story with it.
Right.
You include some of the elements that make the game fun, like exploring dungeons and ruins and
Looking at Lara
Yeah.
Croft.
Some would argue that's the most important part of Lara Croft.
We were all thinking, don't act like those square boobies didn't do something.
I am not one of those people. I'm just saying
if you want
there are some people.
any idea when I talk about the value dissonance between video games and movie adaptations, everything you need to know is baked into the fact that when Angelina Jolie was cast as Lara Croft, there was genuine outcry that her boobs were not large enough. That shows you exactly where people's priorities were. And I don't think we have necessarily these movie studios to blame for the qualities of these adaptations.
No, I'm
entirely.
definitely, yeah, that was one of the things I was going to bring up is the fact that the worst part about the gaming community is the video gaming community.
Yeah.
What they want.
Partially why I don't really play video games.
Yeah, it's,
personally.
it's a give and take. Mostly a lot of take.
Yeah. Just
Yeah, if you really want to rip your hair out about people, go look at any Reddit thread that discuss The Last of Us 2.
God, I could talk about that for hours.
that being said,
Yeah, we're not
there's a handful of years in between Mortal Kombat and Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
six.
CGI got slightly better.
slightly.
We're not there yet.
We're not full Lord of the Rings yet.
Yeah, we're not full Lord of the Rings yet, but we're on our way there. Acting, slightly bigger names,
Yeah.
not necessarily better acting. When Angelina
As it usually
Jolie,
is.
an American actor, has to do a fake British accent, and Daniel Craig, a British actor, has to play an American, somebody messed up.
We've gone too far.
Yeah.
You were too preoccupied with the idea of if you could. You didn't
that's
stop
what
to
you
think if you
should.
should.
Seriously. He showed up on
No, I
screen, and I'm
agree.
like, is that... But he sounds... But
That's my least
No,
favorite
that's
thing
him.
about movies is or at least when casting decisions, is like, why would you take someone out of their natural accent?
Yeah.
Unless it's like a, you know, Hugh Jackman or like Christian Bale who has that range. But when it's like Michael Fassbender, I want you to speak with like a French like undertone. It's like, not that I don't think Michael Fassbender has ever done that, but to use that example, it's like, why would we ever do that? Like, just let him talk normally. I don't understand some of these casting directors.
I think these movies, these two specific films, at least, I should more specifically Tomb Raider right now, suffers from an issue that I think a lot of video game adaptations would throughout the 2000s, which was this idea that here's this niche kind of subculture, video games.
Yeah.
We can make these popular through movies. Maybe if we pander well enough to mainstream audiences, we can make video games mainstream too.
Yeah.
Not that games like Tomb Raider or Resident Evil weren't already the most popular video games at that time anyway. But things like the dialogue, the choice of, top 40 hit soundtrack throughout the film, the A-list at the time actors playing characters with no direction for how they should be acting anyway, just having a big name in there to
They
begin
literally
with.
threw Angelina Jolie in a cave and we're like, all right, get to it.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Good luck.
It says more about the mindset was geared towards how can we, make this accessible to an audience beyond video game fans. It's understandable you would want to approach something that way. The issue with that stems from the fact that people were not video game fans before video games existed.
Yeah.
They had to move into it to begin with anyway.
Yeah.
So even if you tried to make a video game adaptation and pander to an audience who aren't fan of video games, what does that say about all the people who weren't fan of video games and then became fans of them anyway?
That's like the most backward way ever to make people go into your
You can't reverse engineer.
Yeah.
And like going off that, like video games have always been an incredibly expensive medium.
Yeah, seriously.
So even back like when they were first coming out, they were crazy pricey. And it's like, okay, we're gonna garner this new audience. What if they don't have the cash?
Yeah.
You're like, oh wow, this Tomb Raider thing seems cool. I'm gonna drop, I think the equivalency of $1,000 at this point on Tomb Raider. Like, no.
If you don't have the console, and then
You don't have the console. You have to go buy the
itself,
console. You have to go buy the game. You have to figure out how it all works.
you have to buy a guide for it.
Yeah, those old consoles weren't exactly plug and play. They were a little weird.
Go buy Nintendo Power.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You have to figure it out. Like, it's
So that's for the 2000s. Obviously, there's Resident Evil as well, which I think.
So bad. So bad.
However,
The complete opposite.
very successful franchise.
Unfortunately.
yeah.
That I don't think should be understated.
It's so weird too because the movies and the games are just so vastly
They're like completely different.
But I think that works for both of them because like a lot of the game and a lot of the problem with a lot of adaptations is player agency. So the games you have that player agency where it's you're going through this creepy house or you're going through these creepy swamps or something like that, police station, and it's like that is the horror in itself. But Resident Evil the movies are just like, nah, fam, we're going down we're going on a train 100 miles per hour and we're just shooting the living shit out of everything.
As God intended.
And it's like, I don't know, it's so disingenuous to call it Resident Evil, but it is what it is, really.
I think, and truth be told, I don't know whether the popularity of the film franchise is completely separate from the video games themselves.
100%, yeah.
Because I don't hear anybody who's a fan of the video games at any point in time talk about the movies.
No.
And I've never heard anybody talk about the movies ever. They're always on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah. It's like them in that, what is it, like the underworld?
Yeah,
with
the underworld stuff.
The zombies.
Yeah.
Not zombies. What is it?
Vampire, werewolves.
Vampires. Yeah,
Yeah.
vampires and werewolves. There you go. It's like those two movies were like dominated the 2000s B horror movie genre.
And it's like, where'd you people come from?
They're all that Hot Topic.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
When Hot Talk people grow up, they become Resident Evil fans.
True.
All right. But Then we move into the 2010s a little bit. CGI gets slightly better.
Slightly.
Slightly
It
better.
got pretty good.
It got pretty good.
There's some pretty good stuff. Transformers CGI was looking good.
Transformers didn't necessarily start from a video game.
No, I'm not talking about like just CGI
You just
in
mean
general.
CGI in general.
Yeah, sorry, I
Okay.
should have specified that. Obviously, Transformers started from a toy line.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 2000s has like Doom, Max Payne, Hitman. I'm going through the list right now. They have, I think,
God, the
3 or 4
Doom
Resident
film.
Evils,
Yep.
2 or 3 Tomb Raiders.
There are 2 Tomb Raiders, I think.
What else is there? I think that's it for the 2000s that are like the big names. And a lot of those movies are like catering to just random people. Like
Yeah.
they're not even like
It's like they're
to
trying to
the
make
fans.
blockbuster
Yeah,
hits.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's weird. And that's the problem I think with adaptations before is like fans of the series didn't grow up knowing what made movies, right? Like, I mean, you listen to Craig Mazin when he talks about The Last of Us, and like that dude loves the movies. Like, he
Yeah.
probably owns like every single piece of memorabilia known to man that has The Last of Us thing. Just the way he talks about like his appreciation for the 2 games, and it's like I feel like we need to start. Like, I hope eventually, slowly but surely, more fans of video games start making video game movies. But at the same time, I feel like we might go too far where it just becomes like pure fan fiction.
So
And you say that like it's a bad thing.
I think the first thing that has helped the current age of video game adaptations is Marvel. Because being able to take an established...
Did we just praise Marvel for something on this podcast?
James, are you sure you're not still sick?
being able to take something with an established fan base and translate it to
Yeah.
a large audience, they managed to pull off the exact thing that video games failed to do in the 2000s. Superhero movies also failed to do it in the 2000s as well.
Hey, whoa, Spider-Man's were good.
Yeah, but we're looking at Daredevil, the X-Men,
I know,
some of the
yeah,
X-Men movies.
The Hulk.
The Hulk.
The Hawks.
Watchmen.
My favorite one,
Fantastic Four.
Catwoman,
Yeah, Catwoman.
Oh.
So
Electro.
I think to a certain extent, Marvel being able to really codify that formula of how to make that 4-quadrant hit from something that was so uncool and niche, I think is part of the reason why we're seeing an upswing in video game adaptations, from World of Warcraft to Uncharted. Tomb Raider got a remake, Mortal Kombat got a remake, Last of Us, of course, and the Five Nights at Freddy's. So,
Detective Pokemon.
Detective
Sonic.
Pikachu, Sonic got 2 films really quickly.
Apparently, they were also pretty good. I still haven't gotten around to them, but
Yeah.
I heard really good things about the Sonic
First one
movies.
is not bad.
Um,
Haven't seen the second, but
But yeah, I mean, I think
Nevertheless.
like it's basically a combination of what you both have been saying, where it's just the people who play video games have grown up and are able to make content, and the people who know
Sell
what they're
stuff,
doing,
yeah.
sell stuff, can reach together and they can make a product that shows the love that they have for this topic, but also works out with everybody else.
Doesn't insult anybody.
Yeah, it doesn't insult. Well,
well,
let's not talk about the Marvel's box office, but you know,
well,
just
that's
like
just the Marvels too. I
No,
mean, let's look up.
that's
for
a different
example.
conversation.
Yeah,
That's fatigue, but you know, yeah, just like it's because I mean, like obviously the people who made The Last of Us loved The Last
The
of Us
Last of
game.
Us, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can tell
Yeah.
every part of that
Oh, yeah.
was just perfection
Oh,
of
yeah.
itself.
Well,
I don't. I mean, I all right. Well, different conversation. I'm not getting.
this
into
is the conversation.
I guess it is right, but we're not coming back to it, Connor.
be funny if on brand or
Yeah.
our video game episode is like the least viewed episode.
Yeah.
Classic. I lost my train of thought because I wanted to start arguing about Last of Us.
Well,
That's like
my
that.
train of thought would be to say that these films, although I don't think they have necessarily gotten the critical reception that we expect from true Kino cinema,
Did you say Kino?
they made bank in the box office. Nevertheless, these are still successful movies.
Yeah.
Even the Tom Holland's Uncharted was still massively successful.
America's favorite actor.
America's
Unfortunately,
We love him.
Yeah.
Well, he's cute, man. I don't know what you want from him.
He's our flag bearer on this podcast.
Sony's favorite
We love
actor.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. We're talking about Timothy Chalamet, right?
Oh God! Don't even get me started.
What did you think of the new Mortal Kombat movie?
Yes, because I watched that one today, just to get a side by side.
Yeah.
And it's like leagues better. It doesn't have the nostalgia that the 1995 one has, because obviously I watched that and the entire time I was like, yeah, I'm like 6 again.
Yeah.
But like the actual like acting's a lot better. Obviously the effects are incredible because we're in the 2020s and the CGI has come a long way.
So.
You know, like their story kind of makes more sense. It's still campy and stupid because, you know, it's
Do any of the Mortal Kombat
exactly yeah.
games
The
make
games
sense?
pride themselves on that, so it's
Does
kind of
anybody
fair.
actually ever play like Mortal Kombat games for the story?
A lot of people do actually.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just as equally convoluted. it's like being like, oh, the Kingdom Hearts story is really good, and it's like, well, yeah, but it don't make any sense unless you think about it.
Yeah, if you take those one-offs.
But yeah, like it was great. The subtle nods to the actual game were not as in your face as they were in the 1995 movie, where, you know, Scorpion walks up,
Yeah.
gets his little thing out, and then screams "Get over here" in a clearly dubbed over line.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know,
Same with Reptile.
yeah.
Right before Reptile showed up, and then goes Reptile, and I'm like, my guy.
yeah,
That was so bad.
I can identify who this is.
yeah. Or
that was so dope.
when what's his name, Shang Tsung, right? When he steals one of like the Jober's souls, and he's just like, fatality, flawless victory.
He says it
and I'm
every
like,
single
that's
time.
not.
Yeah.
Nobody says that. No human being on this planet
Shang
says
Tsung
that.
does.
Victory.
But yeah, it was solid. I wouldn't give it a high score, mind you, but it was a good time. Like I placed it probably right next to FNAF, just like a solid like
I
B
think
minus
that's-
C plus tier, where it's just like it was good. You
And
know,
I think
I'd watch it
that's
again.
what a lot of these newer adaptations post like 2018 is like. They're just good times.
Yeah.
Right? Like Detective Pikachu, I told you guys I watched it twice in the theater because it's just fun. It's a fun movie. Gran Turismo, which, you know, is it an adaptation? Is
Kind
it
of.
like a biography?
Yeah.
It blurs that line because it's a little bit of both.
It's a true story about a guy who played Gran Turismo.
Is that out?
Huh?
What?
Is that movie out?
Yeah.
Oh,
Came out like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite racing movie, but it's decent.
Yeah.
It's good.
We like Neil Blomkamp.
It's okay. But also like Sonic, it's like just lean into the wacky,
Yeah, just
the wackiness that is video games at times.
I think one of the things, so obviously you go through the door first, you're going to stand out the most.
Yeah.
And I think the vitriol that Marvel movies get is largely because of the fact that they are so insanely popular, but they are just meant to be good times.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be high art.
no.
And I think, and I know I am guilty of this, Martin Scorsese, but sometimes criticizing them with the expectation that they should be equivalent to something that is taking itself seriously.
Well, to defend
So-
Martin Scorsese.
Well, here's the
your thought.
thing. There is a degree to which you should say that, hey, if this is popular, you should have some more responsibility with it, put more thought and effort, and actually pay the CGI artists behind it who are doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
That, I think, is absolutely valid. But if we are just going to sit here and say, oh, video game adaptation should just be a good time, then I feel like to a certain extent, there's really no point to have the conversation anyway, because then it's like, well, yeah, sure, the Mortal Kombat movies suck, but what'd you expect? It's like, well, I wanted a good movie at the end of the day, my guy.
I mean, you could have a.
Do you know
like-
basic editing?
yeah.
Yeah, it boils down to less a conversation of like, is it good in a sense where it's like the story's really well done, everything's really beautiful, or is it good in the sense like this adapted the source material really well?
Yeah.
And it told a decent enough story and had all the nice things about it, enough that it was still a good time. Without it being like, okay, this is changing my life because it's a piece of art.
Yeah.
You know.
I still think that we should, at least as nice as it is that we can have fun watching these new adaptations, at a certain point we want these to actually like be good movies.
Yeah.
There has to be the Dark Knight eventually.
Yeah, there has to be.
Which was going to be my next question. What is going to be the video games as Dark Knight?
all right.
Legend of Zelda.
I
This-
actually...
You excited for that?
We'll talk about it.
This
Oh, God.
That's a good question. This is where we
Because there has to be
not
one.
jump ship, but this is where we bring Pokemon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now let's say if we're talking
The
like,
first movie.
Because
that was such a good film.
why?
What's the name of that Pokemon that they ride in the ocean? Remember, there's a storm at the pier, and one of the trainers throws out a Pokemon and rides it to the island.
Is it not Lapras?
Is it?
It's the turtle one, right? Blue turtle.
Yes.
Yeah,
What is it?
Lapras.
That's Lapras.
Lapras. Okay, Lapras. We were talking
Fake
about
fan.
We were, well,
I didn't know.
I don't know
either. I said
Pokemon.
Cloyster.
I don't know Pokemon
Cloyster?
names. For
Get
the
me out.
record, I don't know Pokemon names. I'm not a Pokemon fan as much as they are.
I mean, I can probably quote everything up until
Go
Hoenn,
ahead.
and then it starts to get hazy.
I was
'cause
saying-
I'm
I
up
was
to like
telling-
400 names.
James and I were talking about that movie earlier, and I said I'm still chasing that high of that
Yeah.
guy who rode Lapras all the way to the island.
What is it about Pokemon that it is consistently quality, yet completely excluded from the conversation of video game adaptations?
I think because
Well, first
It's
off,
so
it's made for kids.
Well,
and it's so franchised. It's not like, oh, okay, you have the Pokemon games, and then there's the Pokemon anime. There's the freaking trading card game. There's all
Yeah.
the plushies and stuff. It's own
gotten to
thing.
a point where when people say Pokemon, they mean everything about
Yeah.
Pokemon, not
You
just
know,
one.
it's been
specific
wrapped
one.
up
A
into it.
corporation
Yeah.
in and of itself. Yeah.
It's literally a company, the Pokemon company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not Game Freak any longer.
No, Game Freak is still
Aren't they the
that's
developers?
their development team
Yeah,
is Game Freak.
Yeah,
Wait, what came first?
Game
Games.
Freak.
The games came first.
I looked it up because I had the same question. I was
Yeah.
like, "Were they? Is it actually an adaptation?" But no, yeah, the games
Video
came
games
first.
came
Okay.
first.
Okay.
And then the anime came out within a year,
How popular
and I think the
knowledge.
trading card game came out pretty soon after that, and then it exploded.
Yeah.
Um,
That's crazy. Interesting.
Explosion is a move that the Pokemon can use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It does 120
I played the games. I just don't know.
It also causes
I
you to
don't
die.
know the Pokemon that much.
But yeah, I mean, to me, the anime and the movies, I mean, besides some outliers, obviously, are like what you should be aiming to achieve when you're adapting any form of media. And I'm talking like books too. Like if you're adapting anything to film, that has like the perfect amount of creative liberty while staying true to the source material that you could have.
And I think part of the reason it does that is because the foundational rules of Pokemon, like
Gotta catch them all.
catching them all, but like the battle system, the gyms, the like hierarchy of trainers, and also the power scaling of individual Pokemon themselves stays consistent for
everything,
throughout
yeah.
all of it, irregardless of if it's the card game or the movies, or at least in this case specifically the movies that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Whereas to a certain extent, for
Go on.
well, Mortal Kombat might be a bad example because it's a fighting game, but when they still try to position some characters as just being nebulously stronger
Yeah.
than other characters inherently, it's like, no, I've beaten this guy's 1,000 times
Yeah.
before. You can't. Tell
When
me
they
that.
introduced Goro in the movie as a
Yeah.
man who has never lost and is literally incapable of losing, and this is going to be the end all, and then Johnny Cage punches him in the dick, and that's the end of the
yeah,
fight. Yeah.
I'm like, my guy.
Classic.
When the giant four-armed monstrosity still has the weakness of a penis, takes you out of it a little bit.
Humanizes him a little bit, you might say.
God.
We love when something is humanized via their sexual characteristics. Shout out to my boy Adam Smasher saying you're a fuckable piece of meat.
But irregardless, I think that is an important point to make about what makes the Pokemon adaptation so good. Is not only that too, but in a weird way, a lot of the lore and knowledge of Pokemon comes from the movies and
Yeah,
TV show.
they
more
actually
than just the
explore
games themselves.
the material a lot more than the games do.
Which I think we had a recent corollary with that with the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Even though that's a board game adaptation, the fact that you could actually look up the map of that world and trace that they were exactly walking
Yeah, they
along
followed
those
everything.
things.
Yeah.
And all the individual like weapons and monsters, all that being really from D&D, just solidified the if your end goal as franchise is to make a universe, then I think that formula of using the movies to build upon what's already existing in your work is golden, is
Yeah.
key. The
Yeah.
fact that Marvel has only ever just done the Tomb Raider formula of, well, we'll take your characters, but we'll give them an original storyline, and we will just make our own universe with
Version,
our own
yeah.
rules and our own mythology,
Small references here
and
and
just
there,
don't include us in the comics. And it's like, okay, cool. We don't want to watch this anymore. We'll just read the comics where
Yeah.
everything is consistent.
It works
kind
when
of-
you have actual talent behind the camera and arguably in front of the camera. And it just seems like everything post Infinity War, they're just kind of like, all right, we made
Yeah.
3 of our $1 billion movies. Like, we're done.
Yeah, we can
We're kind of
coast.
just
Making a-
cashing
yeah.
in.
Mm.
Kevin, or not Kevin, Jeff Favreau was just like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to Star Wars now.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
I'm still sad that all the new Iron Man suits are entirely CGI. Such a waste.
All right, save it
Anyway.
for the superhero movie.
We're never gonna have one of those. It's gonna
Yeah.
be YouTube bashing them for an
We
hour.
like superhero movies. What are you talking about? I can name 7 right now that I would say are great movies.
Yeah, but it's gonna be you guys bashing Marvel.
I like some Marvel movies. Captain America 2, it's a quality action movie.
Okay.
The first Doctor Strange, pretty cool.
Uh huh.
Infinity War, I like Infinity War.
Okay.
Iron Man's, I like.
There
all
we go.
I like.
I was like, if he gets to the end of his list and he doesn't mention Iron Man, I'm gonna actually punch Isaac.
I
out.
like all 3 of the Iron Mans. I don't know why anybody doesn't like 2 or 3. I love
because they're stupid.
I
They
love
don't
all 3 of them.
understand Good.
They're all
content.
fun.
But that's not the topic of conversation. We can have that argument later.
The topic of conversation is what is going to be the Dark Knight.
Yeah, we
of
finally
video
got
game
back around.
adaptations.
God, I forgot that was the question.
We finally got back around.
I mean, maybe I'm just biased, but I feel like The Last of Us was pretty close to that.
Yeah.
I feel like The Last of Us is the watershed moment, though.
Do you think making it a TV show helped?
Significantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's way too much game there to try to put in 2 hours.
But would you do that for other video games? Like, do you expect that to be the format that adaptation should
I think
take
it
now?
very much depends. You could do a Halo movie in 2 hours. Like, yeah, there's a lot there, but you could cover just Halo 1 in 2 hours, and I
Yeah.
feel like you wouldn't lose anything
Yeah.
of major importance.
Yeah.
But, like, with, like, deep story games like The Last of Us that take, 100 hours to complete, you can't condense that into 2 hours of film.
Also,
It just doesn't happen.
A lot of what The Last of Us is the character relationships, and a character relationship doesn't really work when you are only watching them for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's more like, I need to watch you for 10 hours.
Yeah,
Which is really, I mean, that's what television is for, to watch characters develop.
Yeah, longer stories.
Um,
Yeah.
And it just, to a degree, it in theory should be more organic. There are definitely faults in the series. Well, that feel like,
That's just, yeah.
all right, you guys hated each other 10 minutes ago, and now all of a sudden we're kumbayaing over someone's dead body. It's like, okay. Anyways,
Yeah, that's
that's my gripe with
yeah, I mean,
The
that's
Last of
just,
Us.
that's what happens when you're trying to.
It was the camera.
Oh.
No.
First time that's happened in a while.
Yeah, I know. I thought you charged this thing.
I
You
do.
have one job.
It's not my fault. It is my fault.
All right.
Anyway.
I got one for myself personally. One last question for you guys.
We never answered the first question.
I don't really play video games that much. I don't have an answer.
You say The Last of Us?
Yeah.
You say that's gonna be close to the Dark Knight?
I think, yeah, it's as close as we have.
Well, I say like The Dark Knight, not in terms of quality, but like the way the public perceives this
Yeah.
genre. Right?
That makes sense.
Where it's like, okay, now we can start, like, because you think about superhero movies post The Dark. Here we go again. Isaac's talking about The Dark Knight. But now we started. Now we
Things
started.
got better.
Yeah, things got better, and we got like Logan, which I don't know if would be made so much longer. We even got like the Batman, the Michael Reeves Batman, which is a great movie, but where we could be more serious and like actually make quality films
Yeah.
with the genre and like do a Watchmen, what Watchmen did to the comics, kind of
With a
thing.
greater attempt to focus on doing that thing of making good stories, focusing on how characters develop through the stories, not just relying on fan pretense to carry the characterization through the film itself.
taking a media that may not be consumable for some people and taking the story out of it and making it consumable for them.
I don't know if it's gonna be Zelda, but Zelda is pretty fucking important.
Yeah.
I am so not excited for that film.
It is gonna be the biggest hit or miss of all time.
It really is, yeah.
If this movie is not like Yeah, I don't know because the fact that they're going live action, the fact that the producer, you want to read the producer? I read the producer's filmography. You want to read it?
What is it?
It is. Here we go. You ready? In order. Starting in 2003. Daredevil, Hulk, The Punisher, Spider-Man 2, Elektra, Man-Thing, Fantastic Four, X-Men: The Last Stand, Ghost Rider, Spider-Man 3, the second Fantastic Four, Bratz, Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, the Edward Norton, Ghost Rider 2, The Amazing Spider-Man with Garfield. Then he did the second one, also with Garfield, Ghost in the Shell.
Man, that's a real like just all over the place list.
Venom, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, second Venom, in Uncharted, Morbius, Across the Spider-Verse, Borderlands, Kraven the Hunter, and Legend of Zelda are all coming out.
What?
Are all set to release.
You know, I'll be honest with you guys. I remain skeptical. I don't even think this film will get off the ground. I know that we live in an age
No,
where there's
because
enough
Nintendo
money.
says it's coming out. It's going to come out. Nintendo is very notorious about we don't let people.
Nintendo doesn't.
We
like
don't
to
let
do
people
that.
make our stuff.
But it's still Sony. But here's, you know, at least those movies, some of them made money.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
It's not though.
No, I'm with you.
You're talking
Capitalism.
About,
Capitalism.
Talking about the most like
Beloved, integral franchise to video game history.
Yes, it is probably the most instrumental. If we're talking just pure franchises, what they did for the industry, I think Legend of Zelda is it.
Even more than Mario.
Legend
The fact
Zelda
that-
is him.
The fact that Mario could only get a animated kids movie.
Yeah.
And Zelda's good enough
'Cause, like,
for a live action film.
I like Mario some of the games, but like I don't take them as seriously as I do Zelda.
right,
You know, they're kids games to me.
Yeah.
Like, you can play
We
them.
got Tears of the Kingdom day one, hard copy. What are you talking about?
I did. We both did. I went to 3 different Best Buys.
I just downloaded it. I stayed up late. I downloaded it. I
No,
played it
you
right
have
at
to have the
midnight.
physical copies. You have to have the physical
I don't have
copies.
space for that crap, man.
Imagine if your kids are like in 50 years are like, wow, that's so cool.
Think I'm gonna have kids?
All right.
That's true.
Here's my
We
question.
gotta talk to women first to have kids.
Yeah, and we're talking about video games right now.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
was say, I'm on a podcast reviewing video games.
You know
in
what
a
I'm-
pretentious
there-
manner.
you know
Like,
what-
I'm not getting
I'm
laid
very
ever
happy
again.
that the girl I'm talking to likes video games because this would immediately
Yeah.
be a turn on.
That's true. All right.
Why do you think I don't mention it when I try to date? They're like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, well,
You know what's peek into Isaac's dating life? I was very scared when she was like, "So what do you do besides golf?" And I was like, "I have a PlayStation." She's like, "Oh my god, you have a PlayStation?" And I was like, "Oh
no,
thank God.
not the playing video games part. That's acceptable. It's the I have a podcast part that I feel like turns people away. Look at me, man. I'm another white guy on a podcast.
Yeah,
Like,
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, us too. Anyway,
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, me
think
too.
about finance.
Yeah, me too. But
here was my question for you guys.
okay, give me a question.
What game is too sacred to adapt?
Well, it
At
was
this
the Legend.
point,
It was Legend of Zelda. Because
I was like, and now
from my perspective, the limited games that I have ever played, my 2 answers would be Dark Souls. Never gonna happen. I don't think you could.
can't.
have
It doesn't
anything
need to
like that.
happen.
you physically
There are
could not
so
make a
many
Dark Souls
other
movie.
like ways to make a gothic horror. Like, you just don't.
It's
need
one
to
of
do
those
it.
things where it's such a popular franchise that I'm like, somebody's thought of it and tried to do it, but there's no way that you could ever.
It's
really
the story
adapt it.
is too obtuse to ever do anything with that unless you literally just go, it's in the same universe and we're making
Yeah.
our own concept.
Literally,
And
just
people
go
would be
watch the
pissed.
Berserk.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Just watch Berserk.
Yeah.
because it's based. I mean, that's what Dark Souls was based off of.
And then the
So-
second would be Bioshock, which I think
it is happening.
It could definitely happen.
It is
yeah.
happening. It's
Yeah.
Who? It's Pinocchio.
Guillermo del Toro.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
It's Guillermo del Toro. Which I told you, I'm actually excited for because
Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro has that like,
He has a touch.
yeah, he has like a certain distinct
Show me on the bear
aesthetic
where
to
the
him.
touch.
And goddamn it, and he has like
It's on Pan's
he's actually
Labyrinth. You have to watch
also,
a horror movie. I'm sorry.
Spoiler: Guillermo del Toro is actually a good director. So, you know,
But
but
no,
I
I
guess
can-
not spoiler, disclaimer. So you know,
I think
there's excitement to there.
James, to answer your question, it's more games that, in my opinion, don't have a story that's strong enough to tell outside of the video game medium.
Yeah.
Like Bioshock, those are some really good stories.
Yeah.
You could find a way to adapt that and make it palatable to everybody who doesn't want to play a shooter. But like,
I feel like I would enjoy that universe because I'll be honest with you guys, I cannot stand the first game. It's just
Really?
too clunky to me.
I couldn't play it.
It's too like.
I played a.
Maybe it's because I'm
Infinite?
playing it now
Infinite, yeah.
in the context of modern FPS games, where
Mm-hmm.
like going back, it's like, what am I doing? I just never got into the hype when it first came out. But the world itself, I'm
It's
like, I
beautiful,
really
yeah.
want to get into it because it sounds cool.
I know kind of what happens, and
it's
I
really
played
good.
Infinite. I loved Infinite.
It's
I
a
just
good
could not play
environment.
Bioshock 1 and 2.
It just like
They were agony.
physically playing the. It's like the way I feel about The Witcher, where it's like physically playing the
Yeah.
game hurts me, but I want to play the world so
Yeah.
bad.
I think actually what would be good examples of stuff that just shouldn't be adapted because of how they're set up is stuff like Fallout or like Skyrim. Where
That's
there's
also
these,
getting adapted.
These massive, expansive worlds where you have so much crap to do, and the story's kind of just there. Where like the actual fun of the game is doing the game versus just indulging in the story.
I actually feel the opposite. I feel like games like that are more like set up for adaptations. I say that primarily as like a Bethesda fanboy.
Well-
but the idea of like this giant universe we created, let's just plop random stories in and let's capture the aesthetic and the themes of the games.
that was actually something I was going to bring up because a popular, and I'm air quotes, adaptation nowadays is Cyberpunk Edge Runners. That has nothing to do with the game besides the fact that it's in the same universe. But do we still call it an adaptation?
Yes.
Yes.
That like at what point then is it like, okay, well, you're just using the world. It's not even characters we know about. It's just
Yeah.
you're using the base. So is it really like at that point is it really the same thing?
Well, as long as you're keeping true to the central themes and like focus
Yeah.
of the games. But when you go full, here we go. We're gonna get into this discussion. When you go full Halo and you just massacre
Yeah, when
an
you-
entire franchise in 45 minutes, it's
You could have
like
played the first level and understood more.
I
about
knew
Halo
it was
than
gonna be
but-
bad off the first trailer because I was just like, this just like visually this looks like shit.
The second they said a live action Halo, I knew it was gonna be bad.
And then I watched it. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the
That's right, it did
animated
get an
the
adaptation.
Animated movies are
Yeah.
awesome. They
yeah,
slap.
the like collection of
They're
like
so
10 of
good.
them or
Yeah.
whatever in that disc. Yeah,
even
they're badass.
even the live action short film Forward
the
on
one
Dawn
that's like
isn't
the
bad.
the one that's the
But
I think
just
it's an elite that's like basically a samurai gangster. So good. But yeah, it's like why couldn't you just do more of this? Why
Yeah.
do we have to make like you making out with an alien? Like that's
Yeah.
just this is so dumb.
And I mean, like, I feel like there's also an argument for like video game movies as animated versus live action things. But that's just because I'm like nobody ever casts people well enough.
I would say
Master Chief doesn't look like that.
here's what I was really excited for. A Legend of Zelda adaptation in the art style of Studio Ghibli
That would be so cool.
would.
It would be awesome.
I don't know what I would do, but it would be very bad, and I would have to bleep out what I would do because that would just be amazing.
Yeah. That there's our Batman. Make it happen, Nintendo.
I mean, that's probably. Like, I mean, you think about it, right? Studio Ghibli makes some of the greatest animated movies of all time. Just pair that with the most iconic video game franchise of all time, and it's like, how do you go wrong?
Yeah.
With one of the most important creators of all time, a guy who has actual talent in his storytelling.
And I mean, like, those are some.
It was
amazing
there.
stories, yeah.
It was there.
yeah.
A Japanese art house, a Japanese animation studio, and a Japanese video game company. They were, I mean, they're probably neighbors.
Yeah. All right. Hot take. You do the Twilight Princess story, but you bring on Junji Ito to help make it extra creepy.
All right, we're going too far. You're going too far for me. In terms of, I don't know. What games would you like to see adapted?
Adapted.
Sorry.
Adapted.
League of Legends.
League of Legends. Arcane.
I know that was the
Yeah.
joke, James. Get with the program.
Fair enough.
I think Dishonored would be really, really cool.
Oh, you could do some really cool stuff with
Especially
Dishonored,
because
yeah.
the narrative kind of plays itself in the game. Like it's
Yeah.
not
Do you guys
very
remember the
overtly-
Assassin's Creed movie?
Yeah, it sucked.
With wasn't it Michael Fassbender?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything was
Assassin's
cool.
Creed movie?
There was an Assassin's Creed
God.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
It was
remember that at
cool when they were in
with
Spain in the 60s.
just like the video game itself.
The only cool parts are
The only good parts are
it's
the
like
Knight
they didn't
Templar
learn.
parts.
It's like nobody played the games and was like, we
Yeah.
don't care about modern day
Yeah.
Damien or whatever the hell his name
they
was.
kept putting him in.
It's like, let's
Yeah.
just
I don't know
play in the past.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm here to stab people. Like
Yeah.
that's all I'm here for.
I'm here to
Yeah.
stab people and jump from rooftops in the hay barrels.
Yeah, I'm here to look cool, and that's it. I don't
Yeah.
care about your plot.
yeah.
To be fair, though, I mean that's not very cool because Assassin's Creed didn't have a good story at the start, so there was nothing
Yeah.
to really adapt. Like
Yeah.
that's what are you
I'll
gonna
take
tell
it.
in that
Assassin's Creed is not a good video game.
world? Yeah, I know, right? Crazy.
None of them. None of
Yeah.
them are good.
Well,
Assassin's Creed
first
2,
one was good. First one, 2, Brotherhood, quality.
Brotherhood.
Everything past that,
2 and Brotherhood are the only ones worth playing, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I mean, Revelations has the hook blade, which consists of the hook and the blade.
Oh, but pirates. Oh, but ancient Egypt. Whatever.
oh god, when they went to post Egypt and they started making them into RPGs, I was done.
I remember.
I played Odyssey, the one in Greece, and I played 10 hours, and I was like, damn, I'm pretty far. And then the map opens up, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm not playing this game anymore.
I remember when Black Flag came out, and people they're like, "It's Assassin's Creed Pirates," and I'm like, "Just go play a pirate video game. We have
Yeah,
like
just
50
play
of them
Sea of
already."
Thieves.
Yeah, like come on, we'll see it. You know. I was like, I
See
don't
a Thieves
care.
adaptation win?
You're telling me that the best parts of the game, where you're on the ground stalking people, stabbing folks, getting assassins, is now going to be done on a fucking boat?
To be fair, it is pretty cool.
It's not the same concept, but anyway.
So, obviously, we're talking more about the AAA games.
Yeah,
At the
Right,
high end of stuff.
indie game stuff, right? Yeah.
I still think there's an argument to be made that the video game adaptations that have the best bet of getting off the ground right now would be stuff like Sea of Thieves, Fall Guys, or Among Us, whatever.
I want to see the Fall
Among
Guys
Us.
movie. I want to see the Fall Guys movie. Among Us, you could actually.
Could you
make it,
imagine Among Us like horror movie?
Like, I was
That'd
saying,
be
if you
dope.
make it into a thriller, that'd be
you
awesome.
could do that, absolutely.
But I definitely want to see the Fall Guys movie.
Stardew Valley. Just
it's
a guy in a
it's
farm.
just Wipeout. Yeah,
It's just Wipeout. Wipeout's on Netflix now.
nice.
Yeah, I've been watching that.
Doesn't John Cena host it?
No, like the old Wipeout,
Oh,
like when we were young.
I'm still young. What are you talking about?
Anyway, yeah, actually, to speak of indie games that deserve that, well, not deserve, but you could make a
Fez.
good story with. What'd you say?
Fez.
Oh, no, shut up. I was thinking Celeste because it's very like character driven.
Talk about a fan base.
Yeah, I mean that could get.
Yeah.
But it's a story that can be told really quickly.
Yeah.
Like like the reason the game is long is because you're dying 50,000 times. So I mean, like you could really break down that plot pretty fast and have a good story over two and a half hours. And I feel like again
The
it goes
thing
back
is,
to
games like that, Celeste, Shovel Knights, even to an extent. When
Shovel
I
Knight
think
movie would be fun.
when I think of games kind of in that category, I'm like, how do you make a story necessarily for a film? That's a different approach to writing,
Right.
And that's really the issue that we saw a lot of these early adaptations have. Was the storytelling in video games didn't translate to movie storytelling. So there are still indie and more artistic games that would still have trouble. Like Fall Guys, it's funny to say, "Oh, how would you make a?" Like it's
you could
popular
make a
enough,
story
you could
about
do
that,
it,
yeah.
but there's no story in that at all. It would
But I mean
have
that
to
in
be-
my mind makes that freer because there is no story. They can just write whatever they want
can
as
do
long as it
whatever they
covers.
want.
As long as it's got the beans in it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
As long as the beans are in it. Yeah.
But I mean, like that's like for me. Then like that issue is solved when you pick games where the player agency doesn't matter in the story, like Celeste, where the plot happens regardless of what you do.
yeah.
As long as you make it to the end of the level, you're learning stuff.
Yeah.
If it takes you 3 hours, so be it. But like
Earthbound.
yeah, like RPGs where it's just like you're going to hit the end, you're going to
Yeah.
hit the story beats. There's no escaping it. Those you could do because then you just take those story beats and mold them into a way that is more digestible. But like anything where it's like, what's I'm looking for? You have to like choose your own adventure games or whatever. Like that's just
Yeah.
impossible.
Now,
Or where like Dead Space, where the whole thing is like you're in that zone being creeped out.
Yeah,
You
it
could
would
not make a film about that.
You run the
Massive
risk of
Effect.
Mass Effect, another good example of just like there's no way you can capture that feeling for everybody
Yeah.
else.
you would run the risk of alienating the audience and by
A more conventional film
extension
audience.
Yeah.
the player, right? Where
Yeah.
it's
Now,
a lot of the fun of the video games is like, I mean, we've talked about this before many times, me and you, on the 2 video game podcasts we did, where it's like, the hypest moments in my life are literally like beating.
yeah, when I'm in
Xemnas.
control, yeah.
Yeah.
To back up or to push back against my own point really quick, because I just remembered an example that works against me. Even in those, you still have to put some effort forward. Looking at the Monster Hunter movie,
Where
you took
another
a lo-
Mila Jovovich movie. She's on fire.
That was a film.
That's her niche.
that was a film, and
Directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, I believe, actually.
We were so close.
I don't know how you screw that up. It's just giant monsters. It should make a Godzilla movie.
Just make a Shadow of the Colossus movie.
Speaking of which, Godzilla. Was that an adaptation? What
Of
came
a
first?
game?
The games?
No, the movie.
Oh, I'm thinking of Rampage. Sorry.
Sorry, guy.
Thinking about Rampage. Sorry.
Oh, what was I going to talk about?
I said Shadow of the Colossus.
Yes.
Is what I said.
That
be
to me,
banger if you made it like 2D.
I would argue that is a game you cannot adapt.
Yeah.
Because so
Really?
much about that story is you struggling. And there's
Yeah, that's true.
people, unless you have a crazy empathy, are not going to be relating enough to understand that feeling of being there, holding the button down, going like, oh!
Yeah, having to actually have the joystick in your hand
Yeah.
moving the character is so much a part of what
Something
makes
about that game where it's so simple, right? You have 4 buttons that you can use,
Yep.
but yet
It's one of the greatest games of all time, and anybody says otherwise,
it's
I
so
will beat them.
quality.
When Donkey reviewed it and gave it like a 3, I was ready to reach the screen and kill the man. I was like, I'm like, I respect your opinion because not everybody likes every game, but you're wrong. You're objectively incorrect.
Yeah, he does that from time to time.
Aggro. All right. Now, do you guys feel... Now, you guys play video games more often than I do.
Sure do.
Nerds.
So I've been told.
Comparatively.
Allegedly.
We know people who play more than you.
Allegedly, but also actually.
But actually.
Hey, there was a time when he played a lot.
Yeah.
Every night, League of Legends.
Do you feel like, to a certain extent, games are attempting to become... At least AAA games are attempting to become too cinematic?
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it so much.
The most egregious example I've seen recently was Ghost of Tsushima.
That's what I heard, yeah. I haven't played it because
Which-
I don't like those big RPGs anymore.
It's okay. It's not the biggest offender, I think,
Yeah.
of the last like 20 years.
Metal Gear Solid.
I would say, no, I was going to say Red Dead 2. Literally
There you
half
go, yeah.
of Red Dead is like
Yeah.
you're driving you're riding your horse.
Got to shift her into third gear.
You're riding your horse to the mission, and then it's like, all right, they watch this 5-minute cinematic before the mission starts, and it's
Yeah.
like, then the mission takes like 2 minutes, and then you just rinse and repeat for 15 hours. And it's like, at some point, I just stopped playing and watched it because I was like, I get the same feeling out of it where I'm not even playing
what
the
was I gonna
game.
say?
The game is just playing itself, and it's like.
Been playing a lot of Cyberpunk, and it's the same thing where you go like, oh, there's a side quest here, and it's just talking. And
Cyberpunk drove me crazy.
I'm like, okay, cool. It was funny. There was some good content, but I'm like, I'm here to shoot people. I got a 40mm grenade launcher in my arm. I want to use it. Like,
That's the thing I liked about Starfield was cool. Was you could just literally be like, all right, I'm done talking to you, and it just like
Bye.
ends. Like the cinematic would literally be like a minute. They explain something, and then it's like, do you have any questions? It's like, nope, I'm leaving. Bye.
That's
It's like
also
you
why-
just go do your own thing.
To a certain extent, if we're talking about just as the simplicity of gameplay translating to film, I'm surprised we've never gotten like a Devil May Cry or Bayonetta adaptation.
If you thought the outcry is bad about Angelina Jolie's,
Wait until they cast
Bust.
Bayonetta.
how the? Especially because, if for those of you that don't know, Bayonetta's canon height is like 5'7". She's not
Sydney
actually
Sweeney.
that tall. Yeah, no, she's really
Sydney
not.
Sweeney to be Bayonetta.
Because I remember coming across it and I was like, that's bizarre. She looks like she's 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
But no, she's apparently actually very short. It's just that they're stylized it to an absurd degree.
Well, they're also fictional people,
It is
and
also
they can be
really-
whatever.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want.
The Japanese, they
Yeah,
tend
yeah,
to do
yeah.
that from time to time. No hate. To
But
the
yeah, I
Japanese.
think she's either 5'7" or just pushing 6. It was one of those because they were both absurd numbers to me, given how tall she's portrayed as.
Yeah,
I also think those games are just too niche.
That too.
5'7".
Like it's weird because
Ridiculous.
games in and of themselves, games are a very like select hobby, right? Where you have a certain stereotype, but then there's games within the game
yeah.
industry that are
niches
like,
within the niches.
wait a minute, you play that? Like, what
Yeah.
the hell's wrong with you? You know?
You know what we haven't talked about actually? I want to see adaptations of rom-com games.
Why?
Just because you can make funny rom-com movies. I feel like that'd be funny.
Why would you want?
it'd be goofy.
Like what is it, Catherine's body or whatever?
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Are you kidding me? Catherine would be great. I was thinking like even more just like literally taking visual novels and just making them movies.
Persona 5, but just take out all the cool stuff and just make it the dating sim.
Yeah. Hit me up with Dream Daddy, but as in a live action film.
By the way, Persona, the anime adaptations.
Yeah, we haven't talked too much about anime stuff besides Pokemon.
Besides
but like
Pokemon,
Persona 4, the animation, is the reason why I play Persona.
Persona 4 is pretty good. Persona 5,
lost
animation-wise, a down step, but...
Final Fantasy.
So I love Advent Children. I think it's great.
Remember when I said there's a certain subgenre where you're like, you play that?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy is that genre for me.
But man, do people not like the Final Fantasy movies?
I know, seriously.
I don't blame them, but man, people hate those films.
Yeah.
But dude, Advent Children Cloud's so cool. His little like black cloak. Oh, it's awesome.
Get over it.
What do you mean it's cooler when he has the really bad shoulder pad with gear sticking out of it that provides zero protection? Anyway.
I would kill for like a Kingdom Hearts anime.
A good Kingdom Hearts anime. I'm gonna throw that out there. Don't put that evil in the world.
Well,
without the
I mean, it's
addendum.
Kingdom Hearts, you know? Like,
Oh, man.
I mean, they could just cover stuff in the Keyblade War and call it a day.
I guess they could. Anyways.
That wouldn't require too much effort.
Disney's not going to let that happen.
But Disney's definitely not gonna let that happen. No.
No, they would just, yeah. No. Disney's stupid.
We're looking forward to seeing.
We should
Star
go
Wars
buy the
character.
rights to Kingdom Hearts.
With what money? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
I was going to say,
Remember when I said I whore myself out for these pharmaceutical
hey,
companies?
Tylenol, you want to buy out Disney?
No, we don't need to buy Disney. We just need to buy.
We're buying a
Kingdom
piece of
Hearts
Disney, yeah.
Okay.
specifically.
Which means we need to acquire Square Enix.
Which means we need to acquire Donald and Goofy, two of their most 5 important characters.
2 of the most 5 important characters.
So yeah, because we need to get Mickey.
Mickey's in. We can do without
His
Mickey.
copyright's almost up. He's almost public domain.
Yeah. We just gotta wait.
Keep telling yourself that, buddy.
We just gotta wait him out.
Look, we take Oscar instead.
We do a Kingdom Hearts game with none of the actual cast. Just completely like just the B-list Disney characters.
I mean,
nobody
it's
wants.
what they did with Halo.
Yeah.
It was just Master Chief in name. It wasn't
Not
even
about it.
actually Master Chief
I'm not
in
about it.
any like redeemable quality.
He doesn't take his helmet off. It said in the first line. I'm sorry.
At the end of the day,
He literally never takes his helmet off. It's so stupid.
maybe Nintendo said the Legend of Zelda adaptation will happen. I remain skeptical. I remain just as skeptical about the BioShock adaptation. I think that will basically never happen.
I think it will because it's Netflix.
Yeah, but
Netflix is very like.
trying
If we say
to-
something is gonna happen, we're gonna do it.
as somebody who has played that game multiple times, trying to condense it into a film.
I'm not saying it's gonna be
is difficult.
good.
Yeah.
You're saying it's gonna be.
It's gonna be out there for the world to watch.
I'm skeptical it will happen, but if it does, it's gonna be like 2030 by the time we see it. Probably, it'll be a while.
Things tend to happen. I mean, FNAF took 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is it that old? My God.
I mean,
Oh,
you know,
Five Nights at Freddy's came out in like mid 2000, like 2010 or
gonna
something
say.
like that, right?
another adaptation we haven't talked about, the
Super old.
Slenderman movie.
That's right.
That's
I had
technically,
mentioned that
yeah.
briefly. Yeah, even though it's not technically from a video game to begin with, it's urban legend.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're adapting.
Yeah,
the-
it's like
Yeah.
making a movie about the Sasquatch.
Yeah, make a movie about the Sasquatch. Where's
They have made.
Where is the Yeti?
Minecraft movie?
Yeah. Minecraft has a movie?
No, where is the
Oh,
Minecraft
there'll be like
They can make a
kid's series or
Yeah,
something
they can make a
on,
good,
like,
cart- a
Where's
good
the
cartoon about that.
Fortnite movie?
there will be one. I'm surprised there's not one actually.
I'm sure they're working on it. They just haven't mentioned it yet.
Huh.
It's probably in production.
Well, they're too busy reusing old seasons to actually
Yeah.
like make anything worthwhile.
A Metal Gear series would be awesome if they treat it the same way they treat the Last of Us ones. Metal Gear would be sick
As a TV show.
as a TV show. Again, same thing. You cannot condense that, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah. You see,
Even the
I
people
think,
with like the short breakdowns online are still like 2.5 hours
Yeah,
of
seriously.
just them monologuing at you.
the only issue with BioShock is I don't think there's like it's a weird zone where there's not enough story to make a TV show,
Yeah.
but there's too much story to make like a 2-hour film.
So do you
So
think
part
it's
two.
going to be
So, I mean, you could do that, but if you're going to do
Just
that in
gonna do
that
the whole
case,
trilogy?
just do the whole trilogy.
Isn't
Yeah.
BioShock 2 like the worst one?
Yeah,
It's like the
from
step
a
down.
different
It's a
perspective.
different
anyway.
developer, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
Do you think
nevertheless,
it's going to be a 1-to-1 or do you think they're just going to set it in the universe?
it will be 1-to-1? It would
You
have
think?
to be. Yeah.
Yeah, James, what you're feeling right now is the sensation that Isaac and I are very familiar with of beloved
Yeah.
thing is getting an adaptation you know is not going to be good, and you're trying to deny it with every fiber of your being that it's going to happen.
I don't think I've ever been excited for a video game movie in a while.
I remember when Halo was announced, my dad sent me
I was
that.
not.
He
I
sent
knew
me.
it
He
was
sent me.
gonna be
He's like
trash
He's like they're gonna
immediately.
make a Halo show, and I was like, oh my god, no, please, why?
As soon as I found out
We-
it was Paramount, I was like, this is gonna. That's why I was so skeptical of The Last of Us because I was like, I'm used to it. I'm gonna be hurt. I'm not gonna like set myself up.
But then you learn Craig Mazin is behind it, and you're like,
That's
Never
literally
mind.
the only reason I watched it
the
was
saving
because
grace.
of Craig
Yeah.
Mazin. By the way, have you watched Chernobyl? You should watch Chernobyl. He also makes that series. Very quality.
But we felt the same way too about Uncharted, where it's like Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg.
I still feel that way.
Really?
I still feel that way.
Yeah.
I need to go
Like,
see that one.
There's
I
stuff.
will not watch those movies because those are two of my least favorite actors.
Yeah. I mean, even
Yeah,
though
man,
that's
it's
just
Tom
from,
Holland. He's adorable.
He plays the same character in every movie.
So does almost every other modern actor.
I'm sorry that a guy who gets paid millions of dollars should have at least some range.
No, dude,
in
you
what
just
he
paid to
does.
look hot. You should go capitalize. Go audition.
Damn. Are you flirting with me while I'm at work, Connor?
Yeah.
anyway.
Don't forget to comment if you want Isaac and I to end up together.
Oh God. Rebecca watches this one for the first time. She sent me a TikTok where it's like, she sent me a TikTok about something, and then she goes, "You and Connor should just start making out." And I was like, Rebecca, I'm not gay.
She sent to me, you should send this to Isaac. I was like,
She's like, I'm just trying to wingman. I was like, oh my God, stop drinking, Rebecca.
anyway.
Just kidding, Rebecca. We appreciate you for
Yeah,
all
yeah.
you do. It's a good thing the camera's off.
Don't say it.
What about like a Payday? I feel like you just could watch Heist or
Yeah, I don't
Heat.
really know how you'd adapt Payday story. It's got some cool stuff in there, but
You
I
just
just don't
watch
know what you would
Heat.
do. Yeah.
We can speculate about what video games we like that we would like to see adapted at the end of the day, as long as we strive
them.
more in the degree of focusing on tight storytelling, characterization that actually evolves over the course of the story and doesn't just rely on we know this character. Stuff like that.
The Witcher looking at you, even though it's based off the books.
Directors, actors behind the so Isaac has what's the word? Emphasized the quality of behind the scenes talent as well. People
It's
who
not that hard, people.
everybody
Tell 'em all.
making an adaptation of a video game
Needs to-
is going to say we love the game and we want to respect the game. Doesn't matter what the end product is going to be.
Yeah,
They're gonna
just
say
need
that
all
anyway.
Have a respect. Which I mean, that's just adaptations in general. You say something about people.
Well, that's
who
just
make books and
marketing in
movies.
general.
Well, I meant like
Unless you're Rachel, what is it? Rachel White or Renee White or whatever, the lady who's gonna be Snow White. It's like openly bashing the original. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You're just alienating your entire like the people who are gonna go watch this movie.
you want a story
That's another
that'll
story.
make that could actually make a pretty good movie or TV show. Probably TV show. Final Fantasy 14.
No Final Fantasy, no more.
God of War. No.
No, God of War's overrated as fuck.
I feel like you could make a pretty decent God of War TV show.
If you
Maybe.
did the original,
I
I would watch the original if it was an
that.
animated
That could be
TV
a
show.
good like 2-hour R-rated thriller.
Yeah.
and just him just cutting people in half.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be.
But
sick.
they're not going to do that.
Nope, they never will.
Nope.
Yep.
That's like those games, those first three at least, are like the perfect blend of cinema and player, like agency.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, you know, there's this giant. You're like the third one where it opens up and he's like climbing up Zeus, and you're like, this is dope.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other games that are predominantly story based and like the player agency is kind of irrelevant. Like it doesn't add anything to it.
Red Dead 2.
I already mentioned Red Dead.
Any new game, any new PlayStation game that's come out in like the last 5 years.
Grand Theft Auto.
GTA 5, yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. I mean, you could probably do somebody could make a really funny game or not game, a really funny show or movie about the Yakuza games. If you lean into the fact that they're crazy as hell, you can make something really funny.
Dame.
How do you feel about? All right, before we go, one last question. How do you feel about Henry Cavill's Warhammer 40K? You excited? I'm excited only for the fact that Henry Cavill is really into Warhammer.
Yeah, like I feel like because he's helming it, it might be good, but it really depends on what. Because all they've done is been like, "Hey, we're making a Warhammer 40K show." What is it going to be about? Is it actually 30K and going to talk about the Horus Heresy? Is it going to be something to do with,
Is it gonna be 50K?
is it going to be something to do with the current, like the lore that came out in like 8th edition when that happened?
It's a lie. It's actually just Warhammer.
Is it Plague War? Is it going to be Leviathan? Is it going to be the Pariah Nexus? There's so many places that this.
The
stuff
issue
happens.
too with Warhammer is that there's already so much good fan-made content anyway that getting something official at that level of quality is like, I've seen what people can do. Just one guy with Blender, like, that's what you have to go up against.
And even going that, there is no other community that hates itself more than the Warhammer community.
Warhammer.
I mean, literally,
Facts.
we
All right, we got a little battery. Let's wrap this up.
We have known that Sanguinius is going to die during the final fight, and we've known about it for ages. They finally wrote that book, and guess what? Sanguinius dies. The entire community exploded. I hate my hobbies.
R.I.P. All right.
Anyway,
I would rebut that, but our recorder's about to die.
Kidding, I love my hobbies. So yeah,
the Zoom is about to die, so we gotta go.
right.
But
Good chat,
this was fun, guys. Any last words quickly?
Nope, I'm good.
Video game
Disney
adaptations,
make
make them
Knights of the
better.
Old Republic adaptation, please.
Play Final Fantasy 14 online.
Don't play Final Fantasy.
But there's a free trial.
I hate it. Wait, why don't they just adapt F1 2022?
What if they make the TV series
What if they
All right,
just
I'm
make that
standing
a
up.
game?
I'm walking.
where they go to each racetrack in the video game throughout the year?
Wait a minute, they made the game in real life? All right, we're out of here. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll be back sometime.